So one thing you'll notice is a lot of people who are in your life, right? I always talk about they're an extension of you. They're there for a reason. You know what I mean? See, when you look at the certain status of certain people, you have rich people. You know what I mean? You don't see rich people hanging out with middle class people or poor people. You'll see rich people hanging out with rich people. You know what's crazy? How nothing can ever be hidden, because what you experience is most likely what the other person is experiencing to some extent. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. Again, the mirror effect. You know what I mean? If you raise your right hand in the mirror, you'll see that it looks like the left hand is the one that's being raised. Okay? When you're looking at the reflection. All right, and I got my mind blown when I first heard that. All right, I just recently heard that by a strange genie. But getting to the point of this, I mean, nothing is hidden. And if you're really somebody who knows how to, use your common senses here, you'll be able to figure things out here, all right? All the time, all right? Because what you're experiencing, the struggles, the troubles, the anxieties, the fears, certain stresses, to some extent, all those little pieces all scattered around the people you know in your immediate surrounding, all right? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? And you notice how you could play this game, you know what I mean? And it's a very, a lot of people will only look at it in one way. Because when I say, let me tell you something, a lot of people will watch a video and they're like, oh, you get that feeling that they're talking about you, you know what I mean? And maybe because it has something to do with you. Or I could just be talking to myself. When I say I'm going to tell you something, I'm looking at myself on camera. I'm talking to myself right now. So, don't know who I'm talking to, right? You don't know who I'm talking to? All I can tell you is this. Since we're all here and we're all aware of the fact that this illusion of separation doesn't exist, I'm going to give you this advice, okay? Don't try to convince anybody outside of you, okay? Because one thing that I've noticed is you could keep implanting thought forms into other people, okay? You keep trying to convince other people through repetition. But if you're not really convinced yourself of what you're trying to convince others, people will not be convinced. Because it all has to start from self first before you try to convince yourselves. Because yourself is yourselves. Yourselves are outside. All right? And self, yourselves. All right? Or your elves, whatever you want to call them. If you have a feeling like you definitely want to do something, then you do it. See, here's the thing. There's people that have done things, have been places, have been through certain things. You know what I mean? You have also. Now, when you see other people, okay, and you see other, like when I went to Brother Panic's lectures or anything like that, see, here's the thing. Here's how to change your mind, all right? And a little trick I use. I picture myself as the person who is talking to me as me, okay? Meaning Brother Panic's image kind of fades away and becomes my face, my body, and my energy speaking directly to me and the rest of the class. So it's like I am experiencing that, but see, you have to let go of your ego. When you don't let go of your ego, it'll be hard for you to do that. See, I lost the presence of where I'm at to feel that. and I felt energies I've never felt before in my life. When I'm watching a video, meditate as you're watching the video. I mean, you think that nothing is getting programmed into your subconscious mind when you're watching something? It's up to you to know what you want in there and what you don't want in there. The only way that you can actually know the filter is your awareness. That's all it is. The moment that you are aware of something you're hearing, there's your filter. When you're not aware of it, your guards are down. These are your, you see, you have reflexes physically, right? But you have your spiritual reflexes. Your spiritual reflex is your awareness. So you meditate. Look very deeply into the eyes of the person that you're listening to. And what that does is it filters out all the noise that you have in your head. Because the first thing we want to do, shout out to Activation Codes who actually pointed this out, but it's pretty trippy how as you're watching a video, you're listening to your voice in your head, either to criticize, to judge, or is just trying to put in its point of view, all right, as you're watching something. But tune out, zone it out. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is that you want to be as present with the information that you're listening to, so that in that way, you're not looking up to anybody. All you're doing is you become that person. And you see yourself speaking to self through that vessel. So whatever anybody else has experienced or whatever everybody else is teaching me that I've never known, all right, I've already run through it because myself, okay, is speaking to me just through another vessel. So I have already experienced what it is that myself has experienced. Self has already experienced what myself is telling me. Time doesn't exist. I have already experienced that. You want to know why? Just the fact that self is listening to something, okay, of that magnitude or information means that I have already experienced it. If I know and believe that I am there listening to myself speak through another vessel, means that I am in position listening to that information for a reason. Okay? But it is up to me to take the action and know that I have already experienced it. If I don't believe it, it's because I see that other self of mine as a separation of me, telling me something, and I'm looking up to that person. Now, I did this in the lecture, and I told you that was an experimentation I did, but I did it with a certain technique. My eyes, see, there's techniques where people want to vamp off each other. I don't do that. It's basically where I'm doing it, where in a way where I pictured myself just through here, we connected. Picture, you're looking at it through the third eye, okay? Because people say the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? So people want to look in the eyes. But instead, why don't you look at the first eye first? These eyes are the illusion. My eye was looking through this eye. So you have energies, deities that you want to use, but why don't you know that here in this physical realm, there's nothing out here that is not you? So if somebody's teaching you something, that is you teaching yourself. But you have to know that. And if you don't know that, then you're still in this illusion of separation. That's why I said there's nobody bigger than you or I out here. The eye is the window. These windows are clouded. You don't know the type of shit that people do here. Well, you can kind of get an idea, right? Because the thing is that the same way if I'm present with somebody in my physical experience, being silent, I can listen. And I can see where that person is coming from. Because I'm listening, I'm present with the person. But if I'm quick to want to jump as the person is talking, I'm already thinking like I'm in the future, which doesn't exist. And then I'm not going to understand where that person is coming from because the story wasn't completely told because I was already talking to myself in my mind. You can't do two things at a time. So here's what happens. When you're by yourself, you're in the dark, you're silent because you're alone. All one, right? But even as you're speaking to people out here, you're still alone. You're still all one. So even feeling lonely is an illusion. So when you're silent, not out here, but in your dark room, in darkness, alone, physically, now you can tap into the collective to some extent, but you could see where the mind states are kind of in, because you start to feel these things. When you start to focus that direction toward yourself, and let's say certain emotions come up, a lot of people will just say, nope, that's a negative way to feel. They judge it, right? Instead of just feeling it and feel into it so that you can exercise it. This is where the exorcism thing comes out, where you these exorcists, right? You exercise these things. Make this video short. Do whatever it is that you feel like you want to do, okay? Before you do it, just have a strong belief in yourself, much confidence. The process, just don't think about the process. Think about it already done. See, you comes out with the thought first, right? The process is going to play itself out. Like I mentioned, when I made my altar, I knew I was making my altar. I thought about making my altar. I didn't plan how it was going to look. I just knew I had the altar done. And as I was doing it, it just started. I just started thinking of how it was going to happen while I was doing it, not before I did it. It's the same thing when you prune, right? Sometimes you got to angle your head certain ways, and then you cut the plant, and the light goes through.
Look at my draw cat.
We'll talk soon.